Welcome to my nightmare.
All right. Welcome back, my fellow spooky folks. It's the boy Trigger Troy, and this is Man of Horror, my horror pod where I talk all things scary. The season is almost over, and we got 2 more episodes after this, and then we're edging closer to the 900 mark. So I'm excited. We're almost at 1K to end off the season, so just need a little bit more push. But anyways, again, I appreciate you guys nevertheless. Today's episode is going to be an updated list from the very first episode, my top 5 gory horror films. The list that started it all, basically. Except this time, I want to go bloodier, right? So, top 5 gory horror films, bloodier edition. Then, stick around after. I'll be reviewing and rating another throwback thriller, You're Next. Fun ass film. It's gonna be a good time, so let's get it.
You want to know what happens to an eyeball when it gets punctured? You got any idea how much blood jets out of a guy's neck when his throat's been...
Okay, so in 5th place, a film that was 2nd place on the previous list, which should give you an idea of how much bloodier this list is. Hostel. What can I say about fucking Hostel? To this day, I literally cringe so fucking hard at like several scenes in this movie. From the one that immediately comes to mind, which is like the Asian lady with the eyeball and the torch, to like the ankle slicing scene when the guy tries to get it up and they just split open like I literally I feel shit so deeply, right? And so I swear my body hurts after I watch this film, like every time for like a good 5 minutes after. I'll say if you haven't seen this one, I'll give you a pass if you can't handle body horror and you're like a casual horror fan. But if you're like an actual fucking horror fan, you get the bill.
Shame.
In 4th place, a lesser known classic considered a cult classic by extreme horror fans, Wizard of Gore. This film came out in 1970 and was considered what you would call a splatter film, right? You know, the films that are just like insanely fucking gory, just blood all over. And while the film itself isn't like the best plot wise, the gore with this and with splatter films, especially back then, was literally what you came for. I came across this one like years and years and years ago, and it's about a magician who's basically a serial killer. The kills in this film are mind blowing. Like okay, so considering how they look, right? It's funny how this is another one of those films that because of when it came out and the quality and like the grit, it works with it and it looks real. Like it's it almost looks it's like that documentary feel of the first Texas Chainsaw or you know, Cannibal Holocaust, things like that, like those old ass films that just looked so poorly filmed that it almost looked like it was actually happening. Like it works really well with this. In 3rd place, Martyrs. This one is originally a French horror film that came out in 2008. I'll be honest, the film is pretty fucking uncomfortable at points in some of the same ways that both Hostel and like I don't know, I Spit on Your Grave or Last House on the Left are. It's bloody, it's smart, and again, just really fucking uncomfortable. Like it's essentially a film about a cult, right? Who use torture as a means to unlock a person's ability to see into the afterlife. Like basically, I'm gonna beat your ass until I unlock this ability in you. You know, I'm gonna fuck you up and see the limit of torture that I can take you to until I unlock this part of your body that takes over. And you know, it's like unlocking a superpower kind of thing. And it's just fucking wild, right? Like they've been doing it for a while, but they've only tortured the shit out of innocent women and killed them. You know, so it's really fucking sick. But honestly, as a horror fan, it's so fucking worth the watch. I will say I get not everybody can watch horror films from other countries. You know, if you like your horror American, there is a 2015 American remake. Like America, you know, there's a remake for that. Like I feel like that's the ultimate fucking. That's like America's Hollywood slogan when it comes to fire ass horror in other countries. Oh, you know what? There's a remake for that. In second place, Terrifier. Ugh, fucking Art the Clown is a menace, right? Jesus. Like this film, I think definitely highlights how much of a menace. It's the character's kind of like first full outing, and it's a fucking outing. Like this is the type of film that makes you talk to the screen, and like you talk to the screen, you feel what's happening, and you feel uncomfortable. Like actually, like everything that I've said about the other films so far is in this and more. Like it there's scenes that are so fucking intense that all I can do is sit there with my mouth just wide open, like in shock that something like that was filmed. And yet I don't look away. So that says something more about horror fans, right? But whatever, that's neither here nor there. But if you haven't seen this one as a horror fan, definitely you get the bill.
Shame.
If you're a casual horror watcher, nah, you know, I'll give you a pass on this one, and I'll honestly say you might not want to see this one because clowns and gore together is just, yeah. Finally, in first place, Green Inferno. This one is fucking wild. I mentioned it on the original list, but I picked the movie that it was inspired by on the first list, which is Cannibal Holocaust. Again, inspired by Cannibal Holocaust. It's a film from Eli Roth, and it's about a group of people who end up in the wrong part of the fucking jungle, and they encounter a native tribe who from there just proceeds to torture and eat these fucking people in the most insane and brutal ways. Like, and you know, I don't want to stereotype or anything like that at all, you know, or be ignorant because I don't know if that's what they'll do, but I honestly feel like we should leave fucking native tribes the fuck alone. Like, it's fascinating that they still exist. Totally understand that. Leave them the fuck alone. Because more than likely, I feel like this is an accurate depiction and they will kill the shit out of you. Just leave them alone. Like, especially in forest, like foreign ass, like rainforest and shit. Like, nah, bro. Leave them alone.
You are all my children now.
Okay, so that was again my top 5 bloody horror films, or gory horror films, bloodier edition rather. Let's go ahead and get into this week's Throwback Thursday film. You're next. So first I want to say with You're Next, I was pleasantly surprised at the final, like at pretty much just what we got with the film, right? Like they don't necessarily do anything new as far as plot, right? But they take a lot of plot subversions and they play with like a lot of the old plot elements, right? Like, so, you know, family getting together after a long time and they all start getting killed off one by one. You know, we've seen that before. But then with this one, it's different because, spoiler alert, it's 2 of the kids who planned it all. And again, even with that, that's not necessarily new. So it's like a lot of elements that aren't new themselves that are brought together in this movie. I think one of the highlights is the characters, right? I think while very cliche, a lot of the characters, they really play their roles very well and they lean into them very well to where you believe them in their cliches, and you can kind of almost see like, okay, yeah, these motherfuckers, like you can see who's gonna survive, like, and I think it's made like that for a reason, like in retrospect on who actually ends up being the survivor and why she's able to survive. But you know, there's the older brother who's like a dick and he's like the lead of the family, quote unquote. There is the baby brother who is a little weird and a little off-putting, and then he brings his girlfriend from the wrong side of the tracks. There is the sister who's like insecure and she's like the middle kid. She just wants to be seen. The parents who are just like so fucking oblivious and just like, oh, it's our family and we're so lovely and cute. Like it just it plays out really, really well. Another thing I'll say is this movie was bloodier than I expected, which again for horror, pleasant surprise. Was not angry at all. The opening scene in this one too is very fun. The song in this movie, it's gonna stick in your head because between the opening scene and like maybe I think about two other scenes throughout the movie, the song is played several times and it will get stuck in your head. Like after watching this, I had the melody and I don't want to play it here or sing it here because I don't want it stuck in my head again. But yeah, just know it's gonna happen. And then speaking of songs too, the score for this film was very 80s. Like I found myself when I was watching it feeling reminiscent of like chase scenes and old Halloween and like Nightmare on Elm Street, stuff like that. Like it just had like this synth heavy sound and it was very effective in certain scenes. The other thing I want to say about this film is it brought us one of my new favorite final girls, fucking Erin. And like she like so this is another thing, final girls aren't new. Final girls have that transformation from sweet cute girl to, killer towards the end. But what this one did was they brought her life up and like essentially she grew up in, spoiler alert, a survivalist compound. So she knows how to just survive. So the beast that she becomes in this film was there before the movie, right? Like there's no transformation technically. It's just a introduction to another part of her. And she fucking like dog, like if you haven't seen it, like you definitely need to see it because she fucking annihilates these men who are there to essentially again kill her. And it just works out so well. With your next, so I gave it 3 out of 5. Fun film again, 1 for watchability. You will not get bored watching this movie from start to finish. I think the slowest moment is after the opening scene, and they like have to kind of rebuild the plot a bit and reintroduce the characters and what's going on. But even then, it's not like boring or unwatchable. It's just slow. Another one is for kill count, because there is a significant amount of people who die in this film. I feel like anytime it's over 5, the kill count starts to get interesting, and it's definitely over 5 in here. And I say that too, side note, because I was definitely a horror snob, the type that was like, oh, there's only like 3 people who get killed in this movie and blah, blah. Like, just because it's not a high kill count does not mean it's not a good horror film. But it does mean it wouldn't get a star rating for me. So, anyway. And the last one is gore. It doesn't have extreme gore throughout, right? But there are scenes of just pure, like, for example, a guy gets a blender put in his head and turned on. So that should just kind of give you an idea of like the gore situation that's going on with your next. And then like I think one of the other scenes too, at the end, like this guy gets stabbed right in the fucking eyeball with like just a kitchen knife, and it just looks so like you can feel it. Like my eye fucking hurt from that. So yeah. Again, 3 out of 5 for your next. Totally worth the watch. Erin is she's in my top 5 of final girls. Like she fucking just kills it. She's just so fucking smart. Like I have half a mind to put myself in a survivalist campground and to just live there for like a good 10 years at least. Cause like what? Anyway, as always, I appreciate you guys so fucking much for listening. I just be talking shit about horror and y'all just be listening, and I appreciate it. Don't forget to follow the official Instagram page for the pod, Men of Horror _podcast. And until next time, stay motherfucking spooky, folks. Peace.